From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a major night here on Evenings LALATE as one of the most important weeks of the year heats up. We are going to wait for that major announcement tomorrow across the board as the world awaits Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve's first 2 days of the December FOMC meeting. Also tomorrow, we'll also have the latest details on the Consumer Price Index number for inflation for the month of November. But the great news is that massive stimulus is available right now. $300,000 of stimulus checks, fast stimulus, 18 months of stimulus checks. Viewers have been getting them since the month of March. Welcome to this channel, LALATE. So I'm going to show you how to get $3,000 a month, 5 checks a month. That's the average across the board. What are these incredible checks? They were passed in the month of March, and viewers have been getting these stimulus checks ever since. How many checks? There's $300,000 of possible checks for you to reach out to get. 18 months of monthly stimulus checks, law, paid, received 5 checks per month on average, and an incredible $3,000 a month across the board. They're everywhere. They're not from your state. They're from the federal government for Americans, and they're for you. I'm going to show you in this incredible reporting how to get these huge sums of money across the board. But the breaking news tonight is that massive stimulus are available, and we're going to go over that in this breaking news report from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Good evening. A lot of major stories we're working on tonight. One of them is the anticipation of the announcement tomorrow, double announcement. The Consumer Price Index for the month of November. Inflation is released tomorrow. I'll have that breaking news. Wow, what a big day that's going to be. Then also, Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve announces the interest rate spike for the month of December. Then the day after, we have a big day as well, December 14th, when we're going to see whether we're in the start of a beautiful Santa Claus rally or the start of a crashing sleigh downward turn. It's interesting and it's very important. 2 days of back-to-back news that are hugely important, and it's in view of the latest countdown from the Federal Reserve, the growing unemployment claims. But the great news is I have massive stimulus for you, like this viewer who got 18 months of 6 checks a month. Folks, that's tens of thousands of dollars. I'm going to show you how to get in tonight's recording. It has been law since the month of March, and tonight it's going to be heating up this broadcast. Stay over this 1-hour broadcast as we go over all these incredible checks from the shores of Santa Monica, California. It's America's most watched show for prime time for financial news. It's Evenings. And good evening, everybody. Tonight is the start of one of the most important weeks for this economy and, of course, for your stimulus. The stimulus has been obtained by viewers of the channel since the month of March, and tonight I'm going to show you how to get these incredible stimulus checks. You need them because a series of events are happening very quickly in this economy. These stimulus checks are absolutely everywhere because they're for Americans. $300,000 of stimulus checks, 300 different stimulus checks heat up this broadcast. Watch the entire broadcast to the very end. 5 stimulus checks per month on average, over 18 months of monthly stimulus checks. Yes, MSC is law, baby. We're going to go over these incredible checks across the board in tonight's recording. You need to pounce. They are not from your states. They're from the federal government. You must move quickly because the economy is changing very quickly. In tonight's recording, we're going to go over those changes that economy so suddenly. First, the world awaits the major announcements tomorrow. And what are those 2 major announcements? Tomorrow we have a double whammo, or whammy. Is it whammy or whammo? You have the Consumer Price Index for the month of November, which is inflation, the final inflation report of the year. Here we go. It's released on the show on mornings, LALATE, live on air at 9 a.m. It's likely to go up for the monthly and up for the yearly, and the component parts up as well. But what we don't know is the reaction of the markets to the news of higher inflation. It comes on the heels of the Producer Price Index released last Friday, and that was up month to month and year to date. So we already know that inflation's going up. It's not going down, but what will the markets say when they say, I'm shocked? You're shocked. Why are you shocked? That's like saying Mitch McConnell was not named Time Man of the Year for another year. Are you shocked by this? You're not shocked by this. But the reaction of the news is heating up right this moment. World is awaiting the announcement, and it's not particularly good. In Australia, their stock market was down 1%. In Hang Seng, Hong Kong's market down 2%. In South Korea, down 1%. In mainland China, down 1%. This is in view of the announcement tomorrow from Jay Powell. There will likely be a 50 basis point increase for interest rates, but potentially same bat channel, same bat time. What is that? Is Jay Powell a Batman fan or a Superman fan? Are you a Batman or Superman fan? Jump in the live chat right now. Why is he going to superheroes in a stimulus show? Because I'm your Superman, I'm your stimulus hero. In tonight's show, Mohammed El Iranian really says that the same thing we're dealing with right now is the same thing you'll be dealing with next year. Ultimately, next year, the Federal Reserve will be battling the same thing, inflation, with more interest rate spikes all of 2023. The beloved analyst, I adore Orion. He is really nice. I would love his autograph. Is brilliant. He says that I think ultimately the Fed is going to have to maneuver this very, very difficult road towards the middle of next year. I think we're going to have clarity on what happens next with the Fed, but further down out into 2023, the harder it gets, the harder it's going to be to get those rates down. He's basically saying the longer you have this inflation staying at 7 and 8%, as it's been for 1 year, the harder it is. In spring of 2021, I had said the Federal Reserve was wrong and Wall Street was wrong that saying inflation was going to be 2 to 3% in December of 2021, last December. And they also said it was going to be temporary. Well, I said it was going to be 8% and prolonged. And here we are tonight, a year later, on the cusp of the final inflationary report, and it's likely to say 7% inflation tomorrow, and after 1 year. Financial conditions have eased dramatically since the October CPI, but the Fed will likely use the December meeting to walk those back, says Cliff Hodge, Chief Investment Officer for Commonwealth Wealth. True or false? Not true. Not in my opinion at all. I don't think the Federal Reserve is going to really change anything from what they said for the prior meeting. They're going to go from 75 to 50 basis points, but other than that, nothing else. Janet Yellen made a little bit of a flip-flop today. Janet Yellen, who's your Treasury Secretary, who said earlier this year that the economy is not in recession, likely not go in recession, tonight said, get ready for a recession. The risk of recession is there, but it certainly isn't, in my view, something that's necessary to bring inflation down. Is she right? Absolutely. So recession has nothing to do with inflation. What's the difference between the two? I'll show you over this incredible recording. And that's why you have to get these massive stimulus checks. And where do they come from? Let's take it back to the month of February. In February, after I had correctly predicted inflation at 8% and not temporary, then in February 2022, I recorded the first recording in American broadcasting for financial news predicting the U.S. economy would go into recession. Imagine February, what that was like. I was a person on an island of one. They thought I was crazy. I got everything you could possibly get thrown at you, including tomatoes, but they were deliciousness. And in that recording, I said the U.S. economy would go into recession for 2 years starting in January 2023. Well, tonight, that's what everyone is agreeing. We start a recession less than 30 days from now. But what's also really incredible is you. You are so smart. I had trained you really well over the last 2.5 years when this channel launched in March 2020 to get money on the come. Don't risk your money. Don't live risky. Live conservatively with money. And that's why you said in March, give me a darn stimulus check. You said, give me a darn stimulus check. Because if you're seeing a recession for 2 years, I need lots of stimulus. And you were right. During the pandemic, you had a 6-month lockdown that caused you financial strain. This recession is going to be not 6 months, but 2 years. Imagine the strain in the American wallet. So you and I got lucky because the night that you said, give me some stimulus checks, I looked and I found them from executive action from Joseph Biden that day. What a luck that was. And those are the first 3 stimulus checks we're going over in this recording in just a second. Stimulus checks A, B, and C. But it also started the triple mandate of this channel. Number one, find my viewers big checks, because you need tens of thousands of dollars of stimulus checks to survive a 2-year financial trouble. This is not 6 months of a lockdown because of COVID. This is 2 years of a recession. And we found them. In this recording, I'm going to show you how to get these incredible checks. Tens of thousands of dollars. Averaging out $40, $50, $60, $80,000 for viewers of this channel for stimulus checks. Many viewers getting over $200,000 of stimulus checks. It's coming up in this recording. Then, our second focus was to ensure that you qualify. And you do. There's only 2 factors to consider to qualify for these stimulus checks. Number one, you are a single individual who makes $75,000 or less annual income. You got it. You qualify. Marry a couple $150,000 less. You qualify. Other things are not part of the factors. They are not qualifiers. Doesn't matter if you rent or you own. Doesn't matter if you're young or old. Doesn't matter if you think Mitch McConnell is a fashion icon or not. Doesn't really matter. Well, maybe it doesn't if you're invited to the Christmas party, but other than that, it doesn't really matter. These incredible checks are for you. They're from the federal government, the people in Washington, D.C. That's why they're massive stimulus. They do not come for your state. They come for Americans from the federal government. And they're coming up in just a second. The third mandate for me, for you, was to ensure it's easy for you to get them. And rather than just make a recording and run my mouth for 40 minutes, then I came up with the idea of a newsletter. There is no other newsletter broadcasting today except on this channel for financial news. And that newsletter is delivered from me to you Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Why is there a newsletter? In the newsletter, you can go down and click and apply for those incredible stimulus checks. It's one thing to listen to recording and take notes on the recording, but it's another thing to actually have the newsletter in front of you. And all you do is you go, bam, click and go right into those incredible checks. A, apply. B, apply. C, apply. And you continue all through these incredible checks, which I'm going to show you one at a time how to do that in tonight's recording. But first, let's go back into the breaking news that they're working on right tonight. And there is a lot of it because this is a major week. You don't want to miss any recording on this channel this week. The second story we're working on tonight is the same bat channel, same bat time, says Orion, and he's absolutely right. He believes that the situation will be unchanged next year, but peaked, not peaked, is part of the narrative we've been dealing all this year with, and it continued today. David Mann, chief economist at Asia Pacific Mideast MasterCard Economic Institute, says inflation has peaked this year. That's a quote from him. Is that true or false? It's hideously untrue. It's absolutely, completely false. Why? Inflation, if it had peaked, would be posting negative numbers. It's posting positive numbers. The producer price index for what the wholesaler, like the supermarket pays for, was released on Friday, and it was positive. It showed inflation went up month to month. It showed it went up year to date. In fact, when you look at the component parts, they all went up. Tomorrow, what happens when the brother is released, the consumer price index, which is how much you pay for goods, that is going to be the following. This is my prediction. Let's see if we get it right tomorrow. Jump in the live chat and write agree or disagree. First, the month-to-month CPI number, inflation, is going to go up. It's going to be a positive number, like a 0.2 or 0.3. The year-to-date number is going to be a positive number as well, like a 6% or a 7%. That's pretty easy. It's done that every single month. The PPI was that, and the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index the week before was all positive. What about the component parts? They will all be positive with the exception of a few. In the last CPI report, 3 of them were negative. They were used car sales. They deserve to be cheaper. Medical deserves to be cheaper. That was negative. And then finally, gasoline. That can be as cheap as it can be. Keep on bringing it down. Love it. So you know those 3 component parts are down, but everything else was up. And so to say that inflation has peaked, well, guess what? The numbers being released tomorrow for that CPI are going to be positive, and that's not particularly accurate across the board. And that's why I have to get all these incredible stimulus checks, because if Americans are getting so much data and so much wrong analysis, imagine how confusing it's going to be. And that goes into a week in which we had the University of Michigan Consumer Confidence Report released on Friday, and the consumer says, I'm very confident in the U.S. economy. Excuse me? Did I hear you right, Elliot? Yeah, you heard me right. That is the level of confusion across the board. And that is why I have to get all these incredible stimulus checks. So let's jump into these big stimulus checks right now. They started with the ones done by Joe Biden that day in March. $100 $3,000 of stimulus checks. Those first 3 checks passed by executive action of Joseph Biden, A, B, and C, huge. And again, you qualify. Single individual, $75,000 less annual income, you qualify. Married couple, $150,000 annual income, you qualify for these stimulus checks. How do you get them? In the membership newsletter. Now, after that, after Joe Biden came Congress, and they had a beautiful bill that established more stimulus checks. And those more stimulus checks all are in the LALATE newsletter. Those one from Congress are stimulus checks E through K. And I'm going to detail them in this recording. Stay over this 1-hour broadcast. Hundreds of checks, but we weren't done there yet because I found stimulus checks L and M, N and O, P and Q, all in the newsletter. From me to you, Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, via the YouTube alert. Here's the YouTube alert. Delivered from me to you, 7 o'clock Pacific, that's West Coast time, at 10 o'clock Eastern, like New York, New Jersey. Midwest is 9 o'clock Central. You go down the alert, past the guy at the surfboard to where it says View Post. There it says View Post. Click the link and it sends you right into that incredible LA newsletter. And that is the newsletter right there. You go down in that incredible newsletter and apply for each of these incredible checks. Check A, check B, check E, F, Q, all across the board. We're going to go over all these incredible checks one at a time in tonight's recording. And with that, you're setting yourself up to getting those incredible 18 months of stimulus checks, $3,000 of stimulus checks per month, 5 stimulus checks per month on average. We'll go over more about that in just a second. So the inflation is not peaked, we know. And we know that Jay Powell is going to raise interest rates as well. That's all coming on Tuesday. Same batch channel, same bat time, absolutely. But what we don't know is the reaction of the markets to news and data that's all very predictable. Confusing it is. You and I already know what the CPI is going to say tomorrow. You already know what Jay Powell is going to say on Tuesday. But the reaction of the markets to the news is what we don't know. When the data is very predictable, but the reaction is not predictable, it's very confusing. What's not confusing is stimulus. Do nothing, get nothing. The breaking news tonight is that Americans are now starting to learn that the way you get the massive stimulus featured on this channel, nowhere else, is doing something. Do something and you get something. Do nothing and you get nothing. It resembles the earliest days of stimulus on this channel. Let me remind you what happened then. In the earliest days of this channel, it was very important to watch everything. For example, the EIDL grant. You were supposed to get a $10,000 EIDL grant. Well, what happened? You applied, you didn't get it. And then I pressed record on the very first recording on this channel in March of 2020 on an empty beach in Hermosa Beach during a lockdown. Then viewer said I wasn't paid. I said, you need to do something else. What do I have to do? Pick up the phone and call SBA and call nonstop throughout the day, 10, 12 times a day. You do it, you'll get approved. You'll get the check at $10,000. You do nothing, you won't get the money. But I shouldn't have to do anything. I applied. They should just send me the check. It's the federal government. There's something going wrong. They're not sending the checks. You're stuck in the vortex, as I had recorded then. Viewers listened to me. The channel took off, and they started getting paid. Unemployment then was the next major story. People never apply for unemployment. It's a very strange instrument. What do we do? I apply and I got approved. Why is there no check in the mail? Because then you have to go back every week and say, I want money this week. I want money next week. Oh, okay. So I have to do something to get something. Absolutely. The narrative tonight is you have to do something to get something. And what you need to do is watch this entire broadcast. Throughout the entire broadcast, I'm going to show you every check for you to do something to get something. And that's what's happening across the board. Now, what's also happening tonight is that this economy is turning south very, very quickly. And while I say the next 2 days of this channel are very critical for this U.S. economy, the next 30 days are very critical for everything across the board. 30 days from now, what is going to happen between now and mid to late January? A lot. First, the long-term unemployment claims in the U.S. economy as of last Thursday were the highest we've seen in many, many months. 1.6 million Americans long-term unemployed week after week. The number's going to grow. As Jay Powell says, he wants the number to grow. More people unemployed is what he wants to bring inflation down. What's also going to happen in January? The recession starts in January. What's also going to happen in January? We're going to see the corporate earnings coming in from American companies. They're going to say, I'm sorry, November was not good. I'm sorry, December was not good. I'm sorry, I don't need you anymore. You're laid off. That is what's on the horizon, says Goldman Sachs and other companies, because they say November did not deliver revenues in the stores. The retailers did not have a good November. It was weaker than the month of Halloween. And they say December's actually worse. So layoffs going to happen. Bankruptcy is potentially possible as well. And a recession and inflation and higher interest rates. Folks, you have to get all these incredible stimulus checks. And with those incredible stimulus checks, let's jump right into them right now. The first 3 checks passed by Joseph Biden are absolutely incredible. Let's look and see how those checks became law, because you want to get as much stimulus as you can. You want to remove your debt and you want to raise your savings, which we're also going to go over what's happening with those savings as well. Let's go over those incredible stimulus checks, those first 3, starting right now. Joseph Biden in the month of March, when we were discussing on this channel just a few seconds ago, passed those first 3 checks. And they are absolutely incredible. They came by executive action. And let's look at those beautiful checks starting right now. The first 3 checks done by Joseph Biden in the month of March are just wonderful. Check A, B, and C. Joseph Biden came into executive action in the month of March and established the first 3 checks, $100,000 in those first 3 checks, A, B, and C. Then came Kong, and then what happened after that? You qualify. Those incredible checks are absolutely wonderful. You go right in this video, you pounce and get those incredible checks. And let's look at those first 3 checks right now without even a delay. Let's go right into check A, check B, and check C. Check A is a $6,500 to $12,000 stimulus check across the board. Would you like $12,000 of stimulus checks? Of course you would. How do you get this? You go under the video, become a member. Then go down to check A, click the link, and go right in and apply. It is that simple. Then you're going to go to check B. Check B is the membership newsletter. And this is the check that's getting people 18 months of monthly stimulus checks. Yes, MSC has been lost since the month of March. Have you gotten MSCs? Well, the great news with these is that once you're approved, it's automatic. You don't have to keep on asking for it every month. And the viewers of the channel are getting on average again 18 months of 5 checks a month. And let's look and see what viewers have gotten. Here is Frank Mancuso. He joined this channel in less than 30 days. He was getting himself automatic MSCs. 18 months of check B mortgage, 18 months of utilities, 18 months of high-speed internet. When you add that up, that's about 5-6 checks per month, and that is tens of thousands of dollars. Why would you not become a member? Get those incredible 18 months of about 5 checks a month, about $3,000 right tonight with that check B. You're not done there yet. You're going to go get some check C. And check C's are wonderful. They are for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and more. And let's look at those incredible check C's right now. In the membership newsletter, I tell you who to call, what to say, and how to say it for these rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and more. 12 places to reach out to. Make sure you reach out to all 12 because you're going to get a yes, but you're also going to get a lot of no's. 50-50 is usually what happens. And let's look at the incredible success stories for viewers who put the effort in to pounce for these incredible checks. $30,000 of rent, get some incredible check C. Become a member today and start applying to those 12 different places for the incredible rent checks, stimulus checks. Utilities, here we go. Do you want $15,000 of utilities? Well, become a member. Go right in this video, join the channel, and pounce and get some incredible utility stimulus. Then, Snap, Mark's brother-in-law, is getting $250,000 over 10 years for Snap. He got $15,000 for utilities, that brother-in-law. Here's Mark at $6,500. What happened to Mark, though? Mark kept on getting stimulus checks for this channel as a member. He went to $32,000 of stimulus checks. Then I told Mark to go get more stimulus checks. He did. He went to $50,000 of stimulus checks, then $100,000 of stimulus checks, then $166,000 of stimulus checks as a member. Lorraine, she was at $105,000 of stimulus checks. She went to $150,000 of stimulus checks. Success stories are left and right on this channel all the time. Lynn Glenn is the brand new success story tonight. She had gotten herself 26 stimulus checks at least. She got 14 months of rent, 12 months of rent, 14 months of utilities, which is more than 26 checks because that's all her utilities. But then she turned around and helped her family member. That family member tonight is holding 12 months of rent stimulus checks as well. Dragon, triple member to 3 channels, is sitting on $170,000 of stimulus checks. Johnny got 20 friends and neighbors, $250,000 of stimulus checks, and you can as well. It all starts tonight with you listening, learning, and pouncing to get these incredible stimulus checks. Those are the first 3 checks, and what do? You go under this video, click the link, and subscribe. Subscribe to LALATE 1, LALATE 2, and LALATE 3. Then go under the video and hit the bell so you have all notifications set to all on, so you don't miss a video when I go live or I go taped. And finally, you join the channel. Get these incredible checks right tonight by going down in that membership newsletter and applying for these incredible checks one at a time. In the big second half, we continue with these big stimulus checks as we go into checks E through K, passed by Congress. These big stimulus checks, again, lost since the month of March. Then we go into stimulus checks L and M and an O, P, and Q. They're coming up in the big second half. But let's go back into the breaking news right now. 30 days away from that recession and currently a weaker December. There's a lot of data tonight that signals January is absolutely going to be a collision course of multiple bad economic events. Number one, labor. The number of jobless claims released last Thursday show the highest long-term unemployment number for several months. 1.6 million Americans are on continuing unemployment claims, which means they were unemployed 2 weeks ago, they were unemployed last week, and they'll likely be unemployed this week. The number's growing very quickly. It's going to grow, says Jay Powell, as he causes unemployment to get worse to bring inflation down. Collision course number one. Collision course number two. The retailers are having a horrible December. They had a horrible November. The stores look crowded, perhaps, but they weren't buying. And the retailers, according to Goldman, says are not delivering good November numbers. Their revenues are down from October, even though it was Black Friday. And they're down in December, even though this is the big month that they are dependent upon big numbers. Collision course number three. Inflation has still not gone down. And it's been 1 year since it popped at 8%, as I had predicted. And what has Jay Powell done? He's had a lot of interest rate spikes to hurt the economy and barely has gotten inflation down even 1 percentage point. And also what happens in January. In January, the biggest whammy of all of them. The corporate earnings for fourth quarter come on in, and they're not going to be good. We already know that. The retailers are not having a good fourth quarter, which started before Black Friday and is going on right this month. All that adds up to lots of bad ingredients. Now, on the other side, what's also going on? What's going on with the individual, their bank account, their credit card debt, and their sentiments? Well, the University of Michigan's report on Friday baffles all of us because it showed consumers are the most confident with this economy in several months. Excuse me? Did they have too much lobster sauce before they answered that poll? Number two, not funny, is the bank accounts. Jamie Dimon, head JP Morgan Chase, says the bank accounts of Americans will be gone, wiped out, used up by spring of next year. He said they had let's see if I remember the number, $1.5 trillion of pandemic stimulus saved up, but it's all wiped out as early next year. Well, KPMG's chief economist says, no, that's for middle-class houses. The low-income households have already used up their savings account. And then Bank of America and also American Express, the CEOs say the credit card debt limits at the moment, the credit card spending at the moment is the highest we've seen in a generation. People are carrying on more credit card debt than we've ever seen. Big credit card debt, no savings. The salaries are not going up that much at all. And the businesses are more likely to lay off more than ever. Collision courses all happening in January. You're not going to wait for January to get stimulus. You're going to get that stimulus tonight. You're going to become a member. You're going to go around this video, join this channel. You're going to start applying for stimulus checks tonight because these applications are online with the exception of Check C. You're going to start applying for stimulus checks tonight. You're going to start telling people to come on over, watch this channel. You're going to prepare your family by reducing the spending, getting rid of the credit card debt that you have, switch any type of debt you have to fixed debt because Jay Powell's going to have interest rate spikes all next year. We already know. And so says Orion. And then ultimately, you're going to prepare with me. As part of this incredible family, Purple Power, you will get through this recession together with us. We will all get together through this recession as one family because we care about each other. And the caring starts with the data, follows with the analysis, and continues with the heart. In the big second half, we'll continue with these incredible stimulus checks as we go into stimulus checks E through K, then L and M, P and Q, and then we'll go back into the economic data we're dealing with tonight. We'll go into what to see tomorrow, because tomorrow is that big day, that double whammy of data, CPI and the Federal Reserve, and then on Wednesday, the surprise of Wednesday heats up. And what is it? I'll see you back in 60 seconds as Evenings LA continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now in the big second half on the shores of Santa Monica, California. In less than 24 hours from now, we'll have the announcement from the Federal Reserve. It's likely a 50 basis point increase for the December FOMC meeting of interest rates. But will the Federal Reserve also announce something else? I'll have the latest details on that in the big second half. The great news is that there's massive stimulus checks for you right now. 18 months of stimulus checks, $3,000 a month, 5 checks per month is the average. You qualify. Do not wait to get these incredible checks. They are everywhere, and they've been everywhere since the month of March. These incredible stimulus checks are huge, and in this second half, we continue these nearly $300,000 of stimulus checks for you, these 18 months of stimulus checks, MSC's now law, and the incredible sums of money you can get, 5 checks per month. We'll be turning back into these incredible federal stimulus because remember, they're not for a particular group, they're for you. You need to apply, and let's look with those incredible stimulus checks now in the big second half. From the shores of Santa Monica, California, it's a big show, it's a big night, and folks, you clearly see it's going to be a very, very big week. The big week continues right now as we count down your stimulus in this big second half. Good evening, and welcome to a big, beautiful continuation of tonight's Evenings LALATE across the board. After the President of the United States passed those first 3 checks by executive action, stimulus checks A, B, and C, came Congress. And Congress passed those next stimulus checks E through K. And let's look at those beautiful stimulus checks right now. Stimulus check E, $7,500 stimulus check. Love it. Stimulus check F, $4,000 stimulus check. Wonderful. Then stimulus G check is beautiful, 30% off. Stimulus H, a $2,000 stimulus check. Love it. Then at I and J, each $8,000 stimulus checks. Incredible. And then we go to stimulus check K, $14,000 stimulus check. Those were the ones done by Congress. But as I always do on this channel for my members and for you, I am always looking for more stimulus checks. And at stimulus check L, $100,000 on average of loan industry money. M, a $4,000 grant check. Then N, you gotta love this one for the holidays. A brand new tablet, a brand new computer, a brand new laptop for the holidays. It's stimulus N, which also comes with free internet. Then a stimulus O, 0 down payment, 0 closing costs for a brand new first mortgage and no insurance required. And then stimulus P, 3% for a refi and $8,000 of grant money at stimulus Q. There you go, my friends. Those are your beautiful federal stimulus checks. FSC, Santa stimulus, Christmas stimulus. Let's go over a little bit more about these right now. First, largest stimulus check, $100,000. Smallest stimulus check, $8,000. Fastest rounding time to get these stimulus checks, 2 days. Johnny started on Monday. By Wednesday, he had $45,000 of stimulus checks. By Friday, he had 15 applications in, half rejected, half approved. $80,000 of stimulus checks. Then he helped his mom on Monday, $50,000 of stimulus checks. His dad on Tuesday, $50,000 of stimulus checks, and $250,000 gotten by 20 of his friends and family over the next few weeks of stimulus checks. These stimulus checks and these federal stimulus checks are beautiful for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, home appliances, home repairs, the car, the computer, the internet. It's a little bit of everything. These are the beautiful federal stimulus checks. You qualify. Step one, you go right in this video, you subscribe. Subscribe to LALATE 1, LALATE 2, and LALATE 3, the 3 channels of this broadcasting family. LALATE is number 1 in America for this financial news subject. Number 3 overall for all financial news. Now with 3 broadcasting channels airing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. On LALATE 1, you have LALATE Live that starts every night about 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Then on Channel 2, you have Stimulus Live 24 hours a day. On Channel 3, you have Wall Street Live. And there's programming taped live in short form. And welcome to the nearly 100 new members who have joined this channel in the last 48 hours. Become a member and get these incredible checks. And without a wait, let's go right into those inflation relief stimulus checks, ISEs. I for inflation, but also potentially for icing, because they're the icing on the cake. They're not the cake because there's not enough deliciousness in them. They're not that particularly large. $1,000 stimulus check is nice. It's an icing, but it's not going to help you survive a 2-year recession. You learn about these ISE checks in the membership newsletter down at Check D. Now let's go over to those lifetime stimulus checks. And I got that cute message from Bob Bacon overnight who said, I got the information about my raise and my benefits. And once it goes up, it never goes down. He repeated back to me, yeah, I think we need that on a t-shirt. Let's go over the details of how much your benefits checks are going up. This is you if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, and Veterans benefits. Let's take it back to November. Imagine how much your benefits check was in November 2022. Well, that check was a 5.9% raise on top of your prior year's benefits. So it's 5.9% higher than last year. Come January 2023, next month, you'll get an 8.7% raise on top of your current check. Congratulations. That will be a brand new amount for about 12 months. In December of next year, you and I will get ready for January 2023 because you'll have another new raise on top of that. That starts in January 2023, likely about a 3 or 4% raise. Then the year after that, you'll have another raise on top of that, starts in 2025 January, and that's likely 2, 3, or 4%. By January 2025, you'll have the largest check of a generation coming monthly to you, because once your benefits go up, they never go down, and the cost of the items you're buying will be the cheapest of a generation. That's the incredible great news coming with you and coming to you on a nightly basis on this channel. Now let's go back into the breaking news that we're dealing with right tonight, and that is do nothing, get nothing. It's important to understand that it's very important to follow what Congress and what the president wants you to do. You do it the way they say it. And ultimately, if it's their money, you do it the way they want to do it. And it brings us back to something we saw in 2020. In 2020, when the pandemic started, Americans were looking at that first stimulus package. There's a lot of stuff in there that was peculiar. And one of the things that was peculiar in there was unemployment. You got a proof for unemployment. I'm a proof for unemployment, but I don't see a stimulus check. Viewers were asking me at the time, I got a proof for unemployment, but there's no check in the mail. Where is it? I said, you didn't listen to Learn to Earn. You have to watch the whole broadcast, I said. Once you're approved, you have to come back every week and apply for unemployment benefits, certify for benefits on a weekly basis, it's called. And if you didn't do that step, if you didn't pounce like a purple hawk and do that step, you don't get paid. In 2020, we saw another version of that, and that was when people who never filed tax returns. Congress said, or IRS actually said, you need to use the non-filer filing tool because we don't know where you are. And the viewers were told to do that. Initially, they did it. Some didn't want to do it. And then Congress said, you know what? Some people haven't gotten their stimulus checks, so file a tax return. And then the IRS said the same thing. IRS said, if you haven't gotten a tax return from us, file a tax return. If you haven't gotten a stimulus check from us, file a tax return. You need to, in fact, they said, not do it voluntary. You need to do it in order to get a missing stimulus check. And what viewers heard at the time was, this is the way I do it. And so they did it. Stimulus 2022 going into 2023. This is how you do it. You don't fight the system. You do the way the system is set up. The system is set up currently that you need to apply for stimulus. And there's a lot of stimulus, tens of thousands of dollars. You don't talk about something in the past tense. You don't talk about something you heard or saw. You do exactly the way they ask you to do it. Whether it's EID or grant, you have to pick up the phone and say, where's my darn check? Whether it's unemployment, you got to certify for benefits on a weekly basis. Whether it was first stimulus, where you had to file tax return, you do whatever is required then, and you don't use a prior event as your reference point. You do what's required at the time. And at the time, this is what's required. You need to pounce as a purple hawk. You need to go right in and apply for that incredible check A. You need to go right in and apply for that incredible check B. You need to go right and apply for that incredible check C. If you don't do it, you don't get anything. Do nothing, get nothing. Do something, get a lot of something, and survive a 2-year recession. And let's go back into that data and what we're looking at that recession right now, because there's a lot of collision course of data we're dealing with tonight, and it's not particularly good. First, those unemployment numbers are really going to get much weaker in a short period of time. It's not the short-term new jobless claims numbers, which is on the screen right now. That's the 230, 240, 260 number. That's not the number we're worried about. We're worried about the long-term unemployment numbers. It's at 1.6 million Americans, and it's growing by 60,000 a week. Well, that number is going to be released again this Thursday. And that number is going to keep on going up, says Jay Powell, because he wants unemployment higher. Yeah, that's actually what he says he wants to do. So more people are going to be unemployed. Then let's go into the data we saw from Goldman, which is very, very troubling. That December is a very weak month. December is a very weak month. They're not getting people to buy in the stores. The retailers are really hurting, and they didn't do well in the month of November either. Black Friday didn't help. Number 3 is that some analysts are trying to sell you on this pivot, the Fed pivot, or a different narrative. Folks, it's the same thing. Inflation's still going to be around. Recession's coming around the corner. Unemployment's going to get worse. And our LRarian said today, ultimately, the Fed is going to have to maneuver this very, very difficult road in the middle of the year. I think we'll have clarity on what happens with the Fed next, but the further you go out in 2023, the harder it's going to get. And that's what's coming to the market. What he's saying is hard it's going to get. Hard to get inflation down. One of the things I have not really touched on this channel, but our LRarian is really mentioning right there, is the Fed has tried a year to get inflation down from 8%. Tonight, it's not even at 7%. It's done this for an entire year, and they say inflation is going to be around into 2024. Janet Yellen's confirming the same, at least into 2023. Folks, they got a long way to go. They haven't got inflation down 1% in nearly 12 months. Do you think they can get it down to 2% in the next 12 months when they haven't gotten it even 1 percentage point in these last 12 months? Answer yes or no in the live chat right now. My answer is no. My answer is no. The next question that we're really dealing with is Wednesday. What is Wednesday? So Wednesday is a very critical day. Wednesday is December 14th. And on December 14th, that lines up as the 10th trading day of the markets for the month of December. What is the significance of the 10th trading day? This is something I learned from this channel as well. The 10th trading day of December is, historically, the start of the Santa Claus rally. The Santa Claus rally is very fundamental to this economy. Santa Claus rally is where the markets always go up in the month of December. You want the markets to go up because they've had a very, very bad run recently. That Santa Claus rally always is in December before they really implode in January. They go down a lot in January. But here's the problem. Do you have a Santa Claus rally in a bear market? Yes. Do you have a Santa Claus rally in a recession? Yes. Those are historic data. But do you have a Santa Claus rally when you have a CPI where inflation was higher in the month-to-month data? And do you have a CPI rally where the Federal Reserve raises interest rates at 50 basis points the day before? Some analysts say the Federal Reserve will kill the Santa Claus rally that starts the next day. So Wednesday, December 14th is not the whole Santa Claus rally. It just starts on the 14th. But if the 14th is a down day, you may not have a Santa Claus rally this year. My prediction, in the last few months, when the Federal Reserve says something, the market usually goes up that day. I don't know why. The market goes up when the Federal Reserve speaks, and the next day it goes down a lot. And the next day is December 14th. Oh, yes. This is not looking good, is it? Here's what's important to understand is that there's a lot of collision courses happen in January, but the one that I'm most worried about is the corporate earnings for fourth quarter. Corporations and their ability to make money in this month of December is so fundamental to your wallet. Because if they don't make money, what are they going to do? Jump a live chat if you know the answer, and I bet you know. They lay people off. They're going to lay people off if they don't make money in this month of December, and they potentially will close stores or maybe go bankrupt because this is the big important month for them to make money. They didn't make good money last month. If they don't make good money this month, it's one of the most important collision courses for next month and next 30 days. And ultimately, the other factor that really worries me tonight is that University of Michigan report that says that Americans are more confident about this economy than in recent months. Why? Why? Not particularly good across the board. Ultimately, it comes from three factors: data, analysis, and caring. You have to care about the data, you have to care about the analysis, and you have to care about caring. Data leads this channel. We start with understanding where the economy is, looking at inflation, looking at recession, looking at unemployment. Tonight, the latest details on unemployment: long-term claims are growing. The latest details on recession, 30 days away. The latest details on inflation, still not good, still very, very high. Then we go to the analysis. The analysis is that bank accounts, savings accounts are about to be gone. People are about to use up their savings accounts. And the last thing we go to is caring. You have to care as a family. You have to care as part of the Purple Power community. The reason I record these recordings, the reason why I go over what inflation is, recession, is because I want you to know it so you prepare for your family. I care for you, and you care for one another. If you don't know what's going to happen, you're going to sit around and think today's a day in the month of December is going to be the same day as the month in January. No, January is going to be a much darker month than the month of December. And ultimately, if you care about one another, you prepare as a family together. And if we prepare as a family together, we get through this recession together. It's going to be 2 years of rocky roads. And those 2 years will start with people that came together as one family on a channel in a broadcasting community and understood what the economy was. They cared about one another, cared that both people on the other side of the chat and on the other side of the camera are all going to survive this economy financially if it downturns very dramatically. If you don't care about the other viewer, then ultimately what happens? Not particularly good. The way you care about people is giving them the most information they can have so that they can make preparations for themselves. It's a little bit like a weatherman. If a weatherman cares that you do not lose your home in a storm, he tells you the storm is out to sea. He tells you how far the storm is from your home. He tells you the storm is 30 days away. He tells you to prepare right away. If he doesn't tell you, he doesn't care about you. If he doesn't prepare you for it, he doesn't care about it. Now, every channel or every broadcast has a different purpose to the broadcasting, but my purpose here is to inform you of what is on the horizon. And ultimately, if you're watching this recording, if you're still watching the second half of this recording, you've come here to learn, and you've come here to earn, and you've come here to care. And that's how this channel has always been bred, and that's how it's always going to be. Three channels, LA 1, LA 2, and LA 3. Long form, short form, taped and live, and I love you to death, and you'll get through this economy together. Ultimately, the next 2 days should not be a surprise to you or I. We know that inflation is going to go higher. We know that Jay Powell is going to raise rates. We just don't know what those crazy people on Wall Street with those lobster shorts are going to say. But ultimately, their nonsense does impact us a little bit. So that's why you have to watch them tomorrow and see what they say. Jay, you're not going to surprise us. We already know what you're going to say. CPI, we already know what you're going to do. And then on Wednesday, well, you know, it's likely to be a downward market, but you know, we can't win it all. Joe, thank you for giving us those first 3 stimulus checks. We continue to pounce and get more stimulus checks. And thank you, Congress, for giving us the E through K. A lot of money and a lot of shows continue throughout the night from the shores of Santa Monica, California. You deserve all this incredible stimulus checks. You deserve to be part of this incredible family. Become a member and pounce like a purple hawk. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful night. Love you to death and love one another. Stay informed, stay focused. And as always, stay here for all the incredible breaking news as it happens. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.